Okay, Hamel, how are you?
I'm great, thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you very much for talking to us. How are you, Dev?
I'm very well, thank you.
Fantastic. Lovely to meet you too. Thank you. Thank you for talking to us. As you know, we're doing this for Easter, and we want to see what people think about Easter. Christians celebrate Easter every year, and on Good Friday, something happened. What is it that happened on Good Friday that Christians celebrate?
Thing is, I'm not exactly sure what happened, so I don't want to jump in and say something really stupid, because I think I may come across a bit offensive in that way. So,
not at all. Feel free to say whatever you like.
yeah, I think, was it Jesus was resurrected that day?
Well, it's not far off. That will be Sunday, resurrection.
So I guess this is the day that he passed away then.
That's the day he died. And are you new?
Yeah, I think Good Friday was the day that Jesus Christ was on the cross, and that's where he passed away, or that's when everyone thought he passed away.
Now, I don't know if you know that he died a horrible death on the cross, a torturous death. But yet Christians call that a Good Friday. Why would Christians, or why would anybody want to celebrate a day somebody died a horrific death, torturous death, and call it a good day? Why do you think that would be, Dev?
I think that's because the belief is that Jesus Christ, he died for the sins of all the people. And yes, I agree with you. I think it was quite a torturous death. He had keels in his hand, I believe. He was tied to the cross, and he had to drag the cross up the hill as well, or something like that. And there was a greater good that was at play, and a lot of people couldn't understand it at the time, and I think a lot of people don't understand it right now as well. But those who did understand it would call it Good Friday.
And Hamel, do you agree with that, or do you have a different view on that?
I agree. I totally agree. I think he sacrificed himself for everyone else. So he passed away so that he can benefit other people, so he can benefit all the Christians. So I think he did an amazing thing. And that's why Christians worship him and call it Good Friday.
I would like to add that I don't think he did it just for Christians. I think he did it for everyone. Even I think there was when I learned a little bit about the stories, he did it even for the people that were taking him up the cross as soldiers. He even asked, God for pardoning them. So it was like unconditional to everyone. He didn't have to believe in him, but he still helped people. And I think that's something people forget.
And so what you're saying is that he died to save other people? Is that everybody, to save everyone who believes in him? Is that what you're saying?
I thought it was Christians, but I take Dev's words for it.
Yeah, I think for those who believe in him, those who didn't believe in him as well, but he still wanted good for everyone. I think at least that's what I think.
Well, okay, Dev and Hamel, do you think his death was necessary in order for him to redeem everybody? Because he died for other people, so was that necessary? What do you feel about that? How do you feel about that principle?
That's a question that I haven't really thought about. And I think I would need a little bit more time to think about that carefully rather than jumping into it straight away. So it's hard for me to comment right now. I'm not really sure if it was necessary. The thing is, I don't have much knowledge and insight into Christianity, and it would be unfair to me to just say something which wouldn't make any sense at all. So I think I need to develop my understanding of Christianity first, then judge in my own head, was it a good thing, or was it necessary, or was it unnecessary?
And that is precisely why we're doing this, to see what people think about it and to explain the understanding, the background, and see whether you agree with it or not. So, Dev, what do you think? Do you think it was necessary?
Again, I think I would agree with Hemel. I would like to know more information about what happened, and I think my gut instinct feels like saying I think there was a greater reason that it had to happen the way it did happen. I think for people to realize and to actually I think it was necessary in some ways. I don't know why, but I feel there was a reason that I can't remember right now. But
well, you're in good hands, because I'm going to share with you whether it was necessary. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Well, in order to do this, we're going to backtrack a little bit and ask you whether you would think that you believe you're a good person. You've seen the sign out there saying, "Are you a good person?" So what would your response be to that? Would you consider yourself to be a good person?
So that's a good question. In terms of a good question, I think I asked is who's asking the question. But I think we can all be the judges of are you a good person or not, rather than relying on other people necessarily sometimes. I think inside we all have a soul, and if you listen to your soul, you can tell is this a good thing or a bad thing. Sometimes people are ignorant and it's difficult to assess that, and you can't tell sometimes.
Well, I don't know if you know this, but they've done this very thing in prison, and they found out that most people, even in prison, who are convicted criminals, thought they're good people. So effectively it turns out if we are the judge, we're always going to think we're good people, right?
I agree with you. I think good and bad, happy and sad, it's all relative. It's what you think of the way your life should be and the way it actually is. So you're always comparing yourself. Good and bad, happiness and sadness, it's not really set in stone. That's my personal belief. And it's all relative. Like, it's just natural. I think it's just natural to judge yourself with someone who's of a similar age and similar stage in life to you, and see that, oh yeah, is my life good? Is my life bad? Am I doing good deeds or bad deeds? But then again, in compared to someone else, in someone else's eye, you may be bad. So it's a relative thing in my head.
So if we're the judge of what is right and wrong, then we're always going to appear right. And if we're the judge of what is good or bad, we're always going to come through as not bad, right? So
I would say to that, it depends on your understanding and how all-knowing you are, or how much knowledge you have.
And none of us are all-knowing, right?
Exactly, none of us are. So you're right in that respect, that we could all say that we're good when we don't actually know the full truth.
Exactly, and that is.
Sure, and the thing is, when people don't have the answers to these kind of questions, areas which are slightly grey to you, that's when most people turn to religion to find answers. Because as humans, and we're all looking for answers in life. I personally like things which are really set in stone. So I want to find an answer, something that's black and white, rather than something that's a bit grey. And that's when we turn to religion, because when we're brought up, we've been told that, okay, religion is something which is amazing. It's this person called Jesus, he did all these good deeds, and this is the standard that we should follow, and that's what we compare our lives to. So do you understand what I'm trying?
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Yes, it makes a lot of sense. But we believe that God has given us a conscience. We don't even need religion to tell us what's right and wrong. We can tell from our own conscience what's right and wrong, what's wrong, because we believe that it's a God-given thing, God-given gift for us to be able to tell. I know it's shaped by society, but it's ultimately given to us as a gift, or as a thing to gauge what's right and what's wrong. Now, I'm going to use the 10 Commandments to gauge whether you are good or bad or indifferent, right? So we're going to try that and see what happens. Okay, we're going to use not all the 10 Commandments, we're going to use 4 of the 10 Commandments, and we're going to see how you come through. Now, we're going to start with commandment number 9, thou shalt not lie. Have you ever told a lie, or how many lies have you told in your whole life?
Yeah, I would be lying if I said I've never lied.
Yeah, that's true, yeah. I think I can't say that I've never lied. I have lied. Sometimes I've lied for my own selfish gain. However, you can lie just for the benefit of other people. So, for example, it's hard for me to think of something on the spot. But like,
well, to be honest with you, we only care about whether it's a selfish lie, and we've all done it. What do you call a person who's told at least one selfish lie? When somebody lies, they become what? They are a
liar?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Well, that's right. That's what happens when we lie. We become liars. If you murder, you're a murderer, right? And you don't have to murder 1,000 people to be a murderer. You murder once and you're a murderer. You lie once, you're a liar. We're going to go for commandment number 8. Have you ever taken something that doesn't belong to you, regardless of the value and how long ago?
Yeah, I'm sure there's been a few moments.
I can remember really clearly. I have done that when I was little. I really wanted Kinder Bueno, and my dad said, no, you're not having it. So I just took it and just had it without even telling him. So it would be wrong for me to say I haven't taken anything.
So we're guilty of that one?
Yeah.
Yes?
That's right.
And what do you call a person who takes something that doesn't belong to them?
A thief.
Thief, yeah.
Okay, good. We're going to do 2 more and see how we go. Sure. We're not going to do all 10. Okay. Have you ever taken God's name in vain? You said, oh my G-O-D, J-C, use his name when you're angry, or instead of swearing, or instead of when you're surprised, you use his name instead. Have you ever done that?
Yeah, I think so. I've done that. And
so you're guilty at that one?
Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah, agree. I've done that as well.
Okay, so we're guilty of that. Now, the reason I took the mic away from you quickly there is because you probably want to say, sometimes we do this without thinking about it. Is that
exactly,
right?
Yeah. So sometimes we say God's name so casually that we lose our connection to God, and we forget the importance of it. So we're both healthcare professionals, and sometimes when we're working, we were just discussing it today, how casually we just say God's name, or someone says something very important and something serious, but they are not aware of the significance of it.
And there is a name for this. Starts with B. I'm going to help you out here. Do you know what that is?
Blasphemy, isn't that?
Right. Okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah, blasphemy. It's basically what you just said, Hamel. It is when we carelessly use his name. We don't think about it, and because we don't think about it, that's when we use it in vain.
Right.
Because when you think of God, you should be thanking him for giving you life, giving you ears to hear, eyes to see, taste buds to taste good food with, right? Instead of being thankful, we blaspheme. I'm going to do one last one. Okay. This commandment number 7. The Bible says you shouldn't commit adultery. That means if you're married, don't go and cheat on your spouse. But Jesus said, even if you look at another woman with lustful desires, you committed adultery with that person in your heart. Have you ever looked at a woman and had lustful desires?
I've recently got engaged, and I've been more conscious about this. But yeah, it's hard to. I think I've been guilty of that, but I'm more conscious about it, and I wouldn't commit. But I totally agree with what Jesus Christ taught about. Even the thought of doing it is doing the action itself, almost.
At least in the mind, right? It's a pornography of the mind, isn't it? Hamel, would you say at least you're guilty of it once in your whole life?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
Because honestly, who isn't, right? We're all guilty of that. Now, I'm going to summarize. So far, by your own admission, and I'm not judging you because I'm guilty of breaking of all the 10 commandments. But so far, you've told me that you're a lying, thieving, blasphemer, and adulterer at heart. Now, if God were to judge you by that standard, or judge me or anybody by that standard, would you come out innocent or guilty on Judgment Day?
I think you'd have to take into account other things as well. But if you were saying you've just basing on those commandments, it would come out as guilty. And hopefully, well, I would imagine that you look at other parts of your life as well.
Weighing of the good and the bad.
Yeah. If you take all the 10 commandments at literal face value, then I guess the majority of people, I would say, would fail those 10 commandments. But as a Hindu, I believe in karma, and I think karma applies to most people as well. I think all your good and bad deeds will be weighed out. I haven't died yet, so I don't know what happens. I haven't been told what happens as well. So I guess it's just waiting and we find out what happens.
Yeah. Now,
we're going to be judged.
Yeah, exactly. I totally understand what you're saying. He weighs the good with the bad. What, in biblical terms, the Bible refers to those things different to how you view it. Imagine you appear before a judge, and somebody, or not you, in fact, let's say somebody else appears before a judge and stole your car, and he wrecked it. So you no longer have that beautiful new car that you spend a lot of money on. And he appeared before the judge and he said to the judge, "Hey judge, I know I wrecked Hamel's car completely, but listen, I'm otherwise a real good guy. I don't steal cars, I don't break them, I don't destroy them. Look, there are at least 100,000 cars I've seen last month that I didn't steal. But yes, I've taken this one and I've destroyed it. You're a good judge, let me off." Do you think the judge would let him off?
I guess that's a very tough question.
Shall we let Dev answer that?
See what questions. I don't know.
What do you think, Dev, the judge will do?
I mean, if I was the victim of that, I'm not happy with that. You know?
Exactly. What would you think?
The judge would, for that incident, he wouldn't just let it go because you've done all the other good deeds. It wouldn't be able to justify just because you've done one bad deed or good deed. Loads of good deeds to do a bad deed.
And think about this. It applies to everything you do. If you rape a woman and kill her, the judge would not say, "Hey man, you've met at least 2 million women in your lifetime and you haven't raped or murdered them, I'm going to let you off." There is no good and bad, agree?
Yeah.
There is only bad. When you appear before the judge and you commit a crime, the judge says, "Hey look, I appreciate that you were probably a good boy otherwise and you've done all good things and you looked after old women and you've been to probably orphanages and you helped children and so on. But for this thing, you're here for this crime and I have to pass judgment based on that." Imagine if the criminal said, "Hey, but judge, you're a good judge. You should overlook those other things. You shouldn't overlook my good, but you should overlook my bad." Then it wouldn't work out, would it?
Judge then.
Yeah. He's a corrupt judge, agree?
Yeah, I guess so, yeah.
Now, this is how God will work. God is not going to be a corrupt judge. He's going to make sure that all crimes have been accounted for. Now, if that turned out to be true, and you turn out to be guilty, where do you think that person would go, heaven or hell? Assuming there is heaven and hell, I know your background, you probably don't agree with that, but whatever hell is for you, where would it be, heaven or hell?
To hell then, yeah.
I think for those deeds that you've done, you'd have to pay your time or go to hell or do
You got to pay for the crime, right?
the time, yeah.
Okay, now, in Christian terminology, hell is a horrible place, a place of torture, a place of torment, a place of punishment. It's not a place of holiday. It's not a place where you would say, well, it's only a little bit bad. It's the ultimate bad. This is where God is pouring out his wrath and anger on people doing bad things. Now, if that turned out to be true and you ended up going there for eternity, would that worry you? Would that concern you?
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Of course it will. Well, I've got some good news for you. And this is what Easter is all about. And this is why we're doing this. We want to tell people what Easter is about. You said you're open to the idea and you wanted to know. Well, here it is in a nutshell. You and me and everybody else are criminals in God's eyes because we've violated God's laws. We've broken all his commandments. And God is angry at sin. He's not going to just turn a blind eye to it. You know why? Because he's a holy God. He's a just God. And he's a perfect God. So he's not going to let go of anything. But at the same time, he's rich in mercy. That means he doesn't want anyone to go to hell because he loves them and he's compassionate towards sinners. So what does God do? He cannot overlook sin, and yet he cannot let sinners go unpunished. But he loves them at the same time. So what does he do? He comes down himself in the form of Jesus Christ of Nazareth, which we talked about the Good Friday. And he dies a horrible death on the cross, willingly lays it down to pay for the crimes that you and I committed, so that when you appear before him on Judgment Day, God can look at you, he can see you in your sin, but because somebody else paid for your fine, he can dismiss your case legally because justice has been served through somebody else's death. Does that make sense?
That makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense. I don't know if I completely believe that it's possible for someone else. I don't know if it's possible for someone else to pay for your own sins. I feel like your soul and your karma and your needs.
Well,
but I understand the beliefs and I respect that.
Well, Dev, what you say makes perfect sense. Let me tell you what bit you missed in this story. The bit that you missed in the story is that nobody else could pay for your sins. You know why? Because everybody else...
Or no one had a pure enough soul to...
Exactly. So imagine this. Imagine you're a criminal before a judge and you're convicted of a crime. Another criminal couldn't come and bail you out. It has to be somebody else who's innocent. Somebody else who hasn't committed a crime steps in and bails you out. Another criminal couldn't possibly bail you out. So when you say, I can't believe somebody else will do it, you're right. Because somebody else who's like you and me would be a sinner. And he couldn't step in and pay for anything. He needs himself somebody to step in for you. So the only person who can do it for you is the perfect judge who is sinless. That's why we say Jesus has never sinned in his life. That's why he's good. Because he's never committed any of those crimes. He never stole, he never lusted, he never lied. And because of those things, he is capable of stepping in and paying for it. But that's why he had to be both fully God and fully man at the same time, because he's got to be fully man to represent humanity, but he also had to be fully God to be holy and perfect at the same time. So God steps in himself and pays for the fine on our behalf. Now, there are two things we've got to do. Now, you got to pay attention because it's important. Number one, you've got to say sorry. That's obvious, isn't it?
That's right, yeah.
It's kind of what a criminal should do, but it's not enough.
Having the humility to, ask for forgiveness. Yeah.
Because even if somebody bails out the criminal, he can still not go let him off because he still has to not.
Sorry, we've got a train at 8:31.
So let me wrap this up in 10 seconds. You've got to say sorry because it's obviously what a good criminal. There's no such thing. What a criminal should do. And number two, you've got to put your faith in the work that Jesus did, not in yourself. If you put your trust in yourself, then you'll end up in hell. What you do, you put your trust in the work that Jesus did. Agreed?
Yeah, pure.
Somebody else paid for the fine.
Yeah.
I'm going to leave you with this thought. First of all, I want to thank you for talking to me. I'm going to let you go. Did that make more sense?
I think it's amazing the job that you guys are doing. Honestly, hats off to you guys because I really don't have an idea of what Easter is about. And
Did this open your eyes?
It definitely opened my eyes because this is what Easter is actually about. But in this world, it becomes so commercialized. It's all about chocolate and beers. It's a shame. And there is a reason why it's called Good Friday. And
well, Hamel, I really appreciate those comments back from you. Can I urge you with something that's very important?
Yeah.
First of all, if you have time, I want to give you a gift for talking to me. But can I urge you to consider this seriously? Because if what I said is true, that means no one is going to make it into heaven. We're all going to end up condemned into hell for eternity. But there is a way out. God has given us this way out as a free gift. That's why we call it Good Friday. It's a gift. Please, would you consider repenting and putting your faith in Jesus because it makes sense. It's the right thing to do. And if God is really good, there cannot never be any other way. Does that make sense?
I can see where you're coming from. I respect all religions, but it's a bit hard for me to judge at this moment in time. I think for me, and I can speak on Dev's behalf as well, I think we need to get a whole holistic picture of all religions, because I think all religions, they have the same meaning and the same ideas, but they're interpreted in different ways and they say different things. But I can see where you're coming from.
Well, you know, Hamel, thank you for being honest with me. Just so to wrap this up for you, no other religion has got a redeemer. And that's why Christianity is not a religion, because all other religions says you have to do good to rescue yourself. God says there is nothing you can do, you're already broken it. And God says, I'll pay for your fine.
The fact that you're on earth, it means that you've got some sins that you've already
done it. Yeah, you've already broken it. So I'm going to, because you said you want to look into it more, I'm going to give you a Bible. Do you have a Bible at home?
I don't know.
Have you got a Bible at home?
No, I don't.
Now, guess what? I'm going to give you a Bible, but promise me that you'll read it, because you said you're going to look into it, and that's the only way to do it. But either way, your conscience testifies with what I said, and hopefully it will resonate. And think about it tonight. I want you
to say thank you very much for your time as well, and coming out on Good Friday, which is a bank holiday for everyone, and sharing your message of peace and knowledge.
You're very obviously passionate about your faith, and I'm sure God is looking up you and very proud of you at the moment as well.
Thank you. Put it here, Hamel. You're a gentleman. Thank you. I appreciate it, Dev. Thank you.